Hey, I'm Kai from Flamenco Explained. In this video we're going to look at a chord that's part of the Phrygian keys that doesn't get talked about quite as much, basically because it's not part of what we think of as, some people think of this as the Andalusian cadence. That is what it is. We just don't use that term a lot in flamenco. The chord we're looking at is what you might call the flat 7 minor 7, right? Which is basically a minor chord that's a whole step below our root. Right, so if A is our root, it's G, right, a whole step below minor 7, or G minor. And you've probably heard this a lot, right, this idea. You've heard this a lot if you listen to flamenco at all, because it's super common. We use it all the time. Because it's one of two ways to resolve to our tonic. Right, so most of the time we're going B flat, A, right? So the bass line, or the bass, is basically B flat, resolving down to A. But a lot of the times we resolve up from below, right? G, G sharp to A, which is a really nice resolution. The way we usually harmonize that is G minor 7, right? We add this G sharp, and then we come up here. Right, there's a lot you can do with this, and I just want to look at it in the four major keys that we play flamenco in. Obviously we play in a lot of keys, but Arriba, E Phrygian, Medio, A Phrygian, the Granaina Key, B Phrygian, and the Taranta Key, F sharp Phrygian. In all cases you can use this concept, right? A minor 7 chord, or a minor chord, a whole step below the tonic, right? So that sounds a little complicated, but if we're here, right, a whole step below the root is that, right? So the A minor 7, right? So you don't have to know a lot of theory. Whole step below this is that, so an E minor 7. And I'm going to just show you a couple little things to look out for and some voicings that we commonly use. So the most common one, por medio, right, is this G minor. Right, and you'll see that one of the reasons this chord works so well, if you think about it, B flat, which resolves, right, these three notes, you can really see are part of this G minor, right? So it's a very similar chord. I already talked about adding this. You can also add this note, which gives you a B flat chord, right? So sometimes you hear, that's a nice way to resolve from the G minor 7 chord up to the A, right? We're going to leave por arriba to last because it's actually the most awkward one. In Taranta, right, like I said, it's a whole step below the tonic, or the key we're in. So in this case we're in F sharp, so a whole step below is E minor, which gives us this, right? And then we could do, right? But, right, this is not a great sounding chord, right? What we really want is the minor 7 when we're going to add that note, so we don't get that clash. So we could do, right, just as we did this, we could do. Also very nice and specific to this key is, right, this is an E minor with a 9 added, and then we add the G, and that really wants to resolve back to F sharp, right? So this is, again, it's a specific thing. It's also very grabbable on the guitar. In the Granaina Key, right, again, a whole step below the root of the tonic, and we play a minor 7 chord, right? And this, right, that's our resolution, right? So we can do, or even, which, hey, that's a C major chord, right? So that's one of the reasons it works so well, is it's basically a substitution. Again, if you play the triad, you're gonna get that clash there, which I don't really love. So I would stick to the minor 7. And that resolves very nicely to your B. Now we're finally gonna take a look at Arriba, which I said was a little more awkward. And the reason it's a little more awkward is that in order to resolve from below, right, we can't go below this note. So we have to go from below to an octave up. So from this E up here, it's pretty easy to see that a whole step below gives us a D minor 7, right? Now, again, because of this clash, right, there's some cool things we do, but we kind of don't use it quite as often as we do in the other keys because a lot of the time we're resolving down to this E and you just can't come in from below. So what we do here for the D very often is we'll play a D minor triad with the 9, right? We add this, and in order to fix this, we move this finger up. So now we have super cool chord. I love this. Very dissonant, but in a good way, I think, and that resolves up to our E. And another very cool, a little harder to grab chord from our D with the open E. We move the index up and the pinky up. And now, even though the index is playing the 6th fret, I'm gonna bar the 5th fret with this part of my index and get this chord, right? And then that moves me up to my E. So there's a million ways to use these chords. What I wanted to get across in this video is the concept, right? So that you understand why it works and you can transpose it to any key that you're playing in. And you can sort of understand how to manipulate these chords and what things do and don't work. So it's a very powerful concept. I think you should explore it as much as possible. Listen for it when you're listening to flamenco, and it'll just expand your repertoire of harmony.